Welcome to the PT Marketing Power Hour, highlighting successful marketing strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. We have another great episode today, so don't forget to hit subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, here's your host, physical therapist, marketing expert, and CEO of Practice Promotions, Neil Trickett.
Cool. Awesome. Well, let's get started. It's a little early. I got 3 minutes early. And so a quick introduction of myself. Like when people ask me, hey, what do you do, Rick Lau? And so I tell them, I make silly videos, right? I make silly Instagram videos, and this is what my marketing team tells me to do. And so that's what I do, and I want to start off with giving a shout out to every single clinic owner who's on this call, because 2021 or the last 2 years has been like a hard year for every one of us, right? So maybe in the chat, type high five. I think in the last 2 years, it has really tested every single clinic owner within our community to be able to with all the HR stuff, with the business stuff, with the recruitment stuff, and also at the same time, getting new patients, and pivoting our businesses. I just want to give a shout out to all the different clinic owners out there in our for the past year. So that's what I do. I've had the opportunity to be able to, build and exit 127 clinics in Canada with 1,400 employees. And so I spend a lot of time creating content, helping clinic owners on operations and some of the phone stuff that we talked about, like sales processes and marketing. And that's kind of what I do. And so today I kind of want to share with each of you kind of my journey and some of the tips I've learned with what can we do to be able to convert the traffic that that Neil's already getting you guys onto your website. How can we convert that traffic into and when they generate phone calls so that they come into so you get appointments and they book full plans of care. So that's kind of the exercise that we're doing. And so I also, because I like to run my sessions super interactive. And so I want to make it super interactive. So if you type in the chat on our session today, or you go on mic, I'm going to give out a clinic pizza party, at your clinic, And so if you want to win a pizza party at your clinic, type pizza in the chat, that will make you kind of eligible, So maybe type pizza in the chat if you want me to purchase, a pizza party for your clinic, right? So this is my way of bribing you guys to make it super interactive, okay? So if you want a pizza party, type pizza in the chat, everyone, okay? All right, Neil, what do you think? This is a good way to get the chat going, right? Bribe them with pizza, free pizza. So if you have a staff of 10, I'll get you whatever, how many pizzas you need, or 20. Hopefully I don't get someone that has 200 locations, because I'm going to be very poor at the end, right, Neil?
No doubt.
And so, I think that's good. So everyone's typing in the chat with pizza. That is good. And maybe type in the chat, everyone. How many front desks do you have at your clinic right now? Type that in the chat. Do you have 2 people? Do you have 4 people? Do you have 6? Do you have 1? Just give me a sense of how, just type that in the chat, everyone, All right, what are people putting? They got 2 people, 1, 1 per clinic, right? 2, 3, 8. Wow, Jeff has a big clinic, 1 to 3, 4, Susie, yeah. Yeah, those are kind of the ranges. It depends on clinic, but yeah, typically most clinics will have 2 full-time ETFs, two. You start off, you might have 1, and so yeah, aides count as well, right? Cool. And the second thing is type in the chat, what metrics do you use for your front desk to give them like wage, like when you decide whether you increase the pay or not, right? So when they meet with you every single year or every single quarter for a wage, what metrics do you evaluate their success on? Whether you give them like that $1 raise or $2 raise, type in the chat. And if you don't have any metrics, type question mark, right? Like what type of raise, like what type of metrics do you use, right? Like, is it like AR? Is it like, like Lindsay, in this case, cancel rate, copay, right? Is it booking utilization rates of the clinic? Is it full plans of care? Is it like, like answer rates, phones rates, like what does Pam use? Arrival rate, I love that one. Copay, collection, cancellation rate. So there's a lot of question marks in here, right? Okay, this is interesting. So, so let's look at this post I put recently, right? So when I look at like maybe like the front desk team, I think we see the loss. Like, I like the cancel rate. I like AR. I like the phone rates. Like honestly, like if Neil and practice promotion, like they're generating a lot of like traffic, whether it's Google ads or the print stuff, or maybe like SEO traffic, they come to your website. We want to make sure like our front desk, number one, are answering the phones, so what is their answer rate, and then once they answer the phones, right, what is their booking rate, right? Are you converting 5 out of the 10 calls? Or are you booking 8 of the 10 calls, right? And then obviously, like, once they come into the clinic and your therapist, like physios, like gives them a, like a treatment plan or a plan of care, are they booking the entire plan of care? So one of the metrics I look at is like, what is their book to prescribe? So if the therapist prescribed like 12, did they book like 10 out of the 12 or 12 of the 12? Okay. And so if this makes sense, give me a, type phone in the chat, like to me, like one of the most important metrics, if you want more new patients, is you got to manage the phones. This is like what I call like low hanging fruit, like, so it's fruit that's on the ground already. And I think a lot of people aren't able to like maximize like, the conversions and like what they do on the phones, and I like to say that your front desk is your sales team. Okay. But we don't treat them as sales teams, right? If that makes sense, type in sales in the chat, everyone. Type sales in the chat. Because when you talk to other business owners in your community, like people talk about sales teams, and typically like us as like clinic owners, like we don't have salespeople, right? What we actually do, our salespeople is actually our front desk, and our salespeople is actually our clinicians. But obviously our physios don't want to be seen as sales, but they are actually selling their plan of care, and our front desk, they're salespeople. So if you have salespeople, we want to make sure that they're answering phone calls, they're converting the phone calls, and if they are not, if they don't buy that day, right, or they don't book that day, we want to call them back. We want to do a follow-up call, right, And so there's a lot of money that's sitting on the phones that don't necessarily need like you to get more like traffic. Okay, so. And that means hiring the right type of person, so and that's a whole nother session that we could talk about. And so once again, everyone, today, today I want to talk about like your $1 million phone strategy. And I want to share with you what I've learned like over the years, with the phones. Okay. And so quick high level, Call Hero. I founded this like 6 years ago. We are a call recording, conversation analysis software, and so just to give you a sense that like we've analyzed over like last month, we analyzed over 100,000 patient conversations. So we have a sense of like what's working and what's not, what's converting. We work with like, physical therapy clinics, whether it's multi-location or single locations. We work with like dentists, like, like chiropractors, massage therapists in Canada, the US, and Australia. And that's Call Hero. And I built this because when I built my like $87 million physical therapy practice where I had 1,400 employees, what I realized was that I was spending so much money on like Google, Facebook ads, like $2 million. And like the marketing team was actually delivering the phone calls. And in this case, my gut is that like anyone that works with like practice promotion, like they're generating the phone calls. But the problem is that like marketing on this side is delivering the leads, but your sales team is not fulfilling it. Okay. They're not converting it, right? So If that makes sense, type in like sales in the chat. I want to drive this, because when people say like my marketing agency is not doing its job, right? It's because your sales team is not converting, and it's not their fault. It's you. You guys own this. You've hired the salespeople, right? Or you don't treat them like sales, right? You know, or you're hiring like people that don't want to answer the phones, or they're not good at it over the phones. They're not converting the phone. They don't know what to say. They don't want to be they don't want to be trained on sales, you know, right? You know, and that's like tricky, you know, and so we'll talk a bit about that, right? And so, like I said, like the problem I experienced as I grew my 127 locations was that I was spending all this money on marketing, and I blame my marketing company, but they are actually doing their work, but my schedule is still empty, you know? And what I realized, right, was that like I was getting the traffic, everyone, you know, right? And I was getting the phone calls, but it wasn't showing on my schedule, right? You know, and so this is kind of the new patient journey, very similar to like what Neil kind of like shared with you with his like, you know, like patient funnel, right? Is that like, you know, once Neil practice promotion gets you the traffic, you know, like, or like, you know, like this generating phone calls or web forms, you know, right? You know, from there, if you have the right conversations and you do the right things, you book like them into a new patient, and hopefully your physiotherapist will actually put together a care plan, and they graduate from the care plan, you know, right? And when they graduate from the care plan, they will actually like are so indebted to you, and they'll bake you cookies and cake, but they'll also give you like a Google review, right? Which pumps up your Google My Business listings, and then ultimately it'll help you with like SEO again and traffic. Okay, so if this makes sense, type Google in the chat, everyone. You know, so if you want more Google traffic, you gotta be able to like, you know, this patient journey and all this stuff, like it has to happen. Okay, you know. So and once again, you know, like yeah. So, and I just want to remind everyone is that most of you are already getting traffic on your website. The question is, are you converting them into your full plan of cares, you know, right? So once again, if I go back to my story when I was running my, you know, 127 locations, the second problem I realized was that my clinics were only answering 70% of the time, okay? So for a clinic that gets 1,000 phone calls, right? How many missed calls is that? Type in the chat, you know? If I get 1,000 phone calls in a month, and I only answer like 70%, how many phone calls am I missing each month? You know, type that in the chat. There you go. 300, okay? So second question is, out of that 300, how many do you think those are actually new patient opportunities? Type that in the chat. Out of the 300. Out of the 300, how many do you think are new patient opportunities at your clinic? 100? 200? Yeah, because once again, keep this in mind that a lot of people that call your clinic could be like salespeople calling you. It could be suppliers, yellow pages, like people trying to sell you stuff. It could be doctors, insurance, you know. So it's not necessarily all new patients, you know, right? Yeah. So I would say I think Morgan and Stephanie, they're a little closer. Out of that, I would say it's roughly about 15%, you know, depends on how young your clinic is. So out of 300 phone calls, 45 of that, you know, let's just say 50%. So 45, or let's just say 50, even number. 50 out of the 300 are new patients, you know? Who would like to get an extra 50 new patients a month, you know, at your clinic? Type me in the chat if you want that. Yeah, that's already traffic that practice promotion is already giving you guys, everybody, okay? I just want to make this very clear. This is not about getting more traffic. Practice promotion is really generating this traffic for you. The problem is like the sales, okay? Right? So, you know, and type in the chat, how much is a new patient who completes their plan of care worth to you? Is it 1,000? Is it 1,500? And if you don't know, type question mark, you know, 1,000, okay? 1,800, 500, okay? Yeah, see, in Canada, I would say it's probably around, like, it's around probably like $800, you know, right? Inflation is probably way more now, right? So let's do some math. Let's do some physio math, okay? So if I'm missing, let's just say the average is 1,000. So 1,000 times 50, right? 1,000 times 50 new patients lost, that is $50,000 a month, right? What is that in a year? 600,000, Who wants an extra 600,000 at their clinic? Take 600,000, 600K, And this has nothing to do with generating more traffic, because Neil and them are already generating traffic. This is like, what can we do with our internal process to, increase the conversion rates and sales of our teams? Okay, so that is, that was a big aha for me, right? And the third problem I realized in my journey of owning clinics, right, is that there's no easy way of training my front desk on sales over the phone. Okay. Type in the chat, for every 10 people that call your clinic, how many do you think that are actually converted into your schedule out of 10? Is it 5 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10? If you don't know, type question mark, 7. Pam, just very quick. This is for every 10 people that are qualified. Out of that 50, let's just say, out of the people that are actually new patients, how many opportunities, so this is not all the junk stuff, the spam stuff, people trying to call you, right? Pam is 5. Yeah. I see a big range, everyone, I've seen like, but I would say on average, most clinics are at 60%, 6 out of 10. Okay. The good clinics are closer to like maybe 8 or 9 out of 10, right? But, so if you are at 80, let's just say you're at 85% divided by 95, 60%. Let's just say you're 80, right? So, and you're at 60, with you just working on phone scripts and keeping your sales team accountable, you can actually boost your phone. Like you could boost your new patients by like 33%, This is like the game that we're talking about today. What can we do to be able to increase the conversion rates, right? And so that was when I had this like massive aha moment when I was like, hey, I don't have a marketing problem, my marketing agency teams are delivering me like the new patients, so the stuff that Neil is doing for you guys, or the stuff that Chad Madden is doing for you guys, like they're really delivering you like the traffic. I had a sales problem, okay? And so if we go back into this like call funnel, and we're gonna do this exercise today, everyone, is that like, this is how the call funnel looks at, okay? So once again, I'm gonna start from the top, your marketing, right? Your marketing is generating you the phone calls, okay? So they're coming to you through all the different mediums, okay? So marketing, doing a good job to generate your phone calls. And if you haven't, signed up for like Neil stuff, I think you should consider, because, and if you're missing phone calls, then yeah, I would work with Neil on that. Okay. So they generate the phone calls, and then a lot of this funnel is, the question you ask yourself is, hey, I'm getting 1,000 phone calls. Am I answering them every single day? Am I answering them at 70% every day, or am I answering them at 95% every day, right? Type in the chat, what do you think the answer rate of a call center is? Do you think it's at 70% or 95%? What is the answer rate of at a call center? And if you don't know, type a question mark. Yeah, 95, right? 99, yeah. Anyone that worked there before? It's really high. Okay. And for the let's just say for the 30%, so you answer 70%, for the 30% that don't answer, how many people call them back, even if when they don't leave a voice message? Type win back in the chat if you actually win them back. The people that call but don't leave a voice message, how many people like call to win them back? Good. I'd love to see this, right? If you don't, you should. Okay. This is like low-hanging fruit. Because if you had a sales team, they would absolutely do that. Okay. So let's assume you're doing that. Okay, good. So you answer 70%, and let's just say out of those calls, 50% of them are actually opportunities, right? If that makes sense, type in 15%. So not all the calls are opportunities, but let's just say 15%, okay? You know, for younger clinics, it might be 20 or 30, but let's just say rule of thumb, 15%, okay? So the ones that are opportunities, are we booking them? You know, so what is our booking rate? You know, is it 60% or like 80%, you know? And I would say the good clinics are probably converting at about 80 to 85% consistently. And you'll see that some of your top performers will be at 90. You'll see like, you'll have like other front desks, like, you know, like at like maybe at 60, and then you average out to be 70. So your goal is, how can I get more of the people at the 90%, you know, so to boost your conversion rates, okay? And here's the other tip you guys are gonna learn today. How many people call back the patients who called yesterday, like that didn't book with you yesterday? So they said, I want to think about it. How many people call them, do a follow-up call to win them back the next day? Type win back in the chat if you do that. Yes, Jessica, awesome. Yeah, so these are the people say, let me think about it, and like you call them the next day, okay? So Melissa, and who's gonna start doing it? Type today if you're gonna start doing that, you know? That's like easy money that you can start doing today, everyone. But you gotta make that into a daily process, you know? In my world, I call that win backs, okay? So that's the call funnel. And everyone, we're gonna do this call funnel exercise together now that you guys get it. So we're gonna make this interactive. What I want you to do is print this worksheet out, and we're gonna do it together as a group, okay? What it will look like is it will look something like this, right? We're gonna do this exercise together. Hopefully this makes sense. Just give me, type. And as you guys print it out, what we could do is maybe I'll spend 5 minutes. I'll explain how this works, and then we'll kind of do it together, okay? And while we print it, I'm gonna put some Jeopardy music. Who likes Jeopardy? Type Jeopardy in the chat if you like Jeopardy. I'll play some Jeopardy while you fill it out. Okay, so we'll go through this exercise together, okay? Pam doesn't like Jeopardy. Okay. So this is the first step, everyone. So the first step in this exercise is I want you to, and we'll do this together. If you haven't put this out, maybe like you could fill out on the side, okay? So, okay. So step one is like, let's estimate our monthly calls, okay? So how many daily calls do you think you get a day, you know, right? You know, is it 20, like 30, 50, you know, right? Type in the chat, like, how many daily calls do you think you get in a typical day? Like on a typical, like, today's Tuesday, you know? You think you get 20, 75, okay? 130, wow. Lindsay, you got a big clinic. 50, 20, okay. Okay, so let's do this exercise. So let's just assume that it's 50. We're gonna use Denise's example. You get 50 calls a day, right? Estimated. So monthly calls would be, so let's estimate our monthly calls. Our monthly calls would be 50 calls times 21. So in this case, is 20 times 50, 50 times 21. So Denise has your typical clinic. Most typical clinics roughly go about 50 calls a day, all right? So that's a typical practice that does maybe about 700, I would say between 700,000 to $1 million, you probably get about 50 calls a day, okay? And so let's go back to that. So type in the chat, how many monthly calls do you get in a month now? Is it 1,000? You know, once you do the math, you know, is it 1,000? Is it 1,500? Is it 500? Is it 2,000? You know, right? What I see is the smaller clinics probably get about like, you know, closer to maybe 300 to 500. Some of the bigger ones, you know, like 1,000 is kind of the average, 800 to 1,000, and then some of the mega multi-million-dollar clinics are 1,500 to 2,000. So type in the chat, how many monthly calls do you get in a month? All right, 1,000, 1,500. Okay, so that's a good exercise. Okay, cool. And if you don't know, maybe you can use either 500 or 1,000 as your starting point, okay? Cool. So let's, we're gonna do step 2 together. Step 2 is like, let's calculate like ordinary booking rates, okay? You know, like ordinary phone rates. So in this case is that, let's just assume that you have an answer rate of 70% and you have a booking rate of 60%. This is like average, you know, I'm just telling you that. So the month of February, you had an answer rate of 70% and a booking rate of 60%, okay? So let's fill this out together. So a monthly call, you would have, let me go back to the sheet so we can do it together. So let's just say, you know, like you had 500 phone calls, okay? That month. And then if you take 70% of your monthly calls, right, it would be 350, okay? And then let's just say that out of the 350 calls that you answered, 15% of that, you know, are opportunities. So let's just say that is, you know, if you take that 350 times 15%, that's 53%. And if we assume that you have a booking rate of 60%, you take 53 times 60%, and that should give you 31%. So Pam, are you liking this music or no? Pam is killing me with this music. I'm trying to make it entertaining for you, so you guys enjoy the next. How many more time? How much more minutes do I have? 20 minutes left. All right. Who's done step 2? Type in finish if you finished step 2 before we start step 3. Okay, good. All right. So we're gonna do step 3 now. So step 3, everyone, is you know, if you had like smart like phone rates, you know, right? Let's assume that you answer 95% of the time, you know, like a call center, and you train your front desk and you hire the right people, and you you give them like raises based on like give them incentive to actually answer the phones and booking the rates, like, and you could get a clinic booking rate of 80%. Let's do that math, you know, what does that look like, you know, same exercise, you know. So in this case is that like, you know, you had the same 500 phone calls, you've answered 95% of the time, you know, that puts you at 475. And let's assume 50% of those are opportunities, you know, so that's 71. And you booked 80% versus the 60, okay? So that's what we call your SMART numbers, okay? And so, if you finish that, type in finished in the chat if you're finished step 3, you know. Okay, cool. So step 4 is like let's do some math, physical therapy math, like, you know, and I want you to subtract the difference of like of step 2 versus step 3. So in step 2 we had 57 and step 3 had 31. So the difference is 26 more new patients, you know, right? And what I want you to do now is type in the chat, how much money is that worth to you each month? So take your number, right? Like in this case, it's 26. And if your average patient is like $1,000 a month, you know, what is that potentially worth to you? You know, in this case, it's worth for like the 500 calls, like it's 26,000. So I will type in 26,000. I'm losing out on 26 new patients that already have, and it's like 26,000. What is your number? Type that in the chat, everyone, you know? Is it like, so Pam is 26,000, Gwen is like 40,000, you know, right? Morgan is 55, Denise is 46, right? Okay. This is awesome. And so I want to ask you, type in the chat, everyone. Susan's 58. What is your biggest takeaway from this exercise we just did on this phone funnel? Type in the chat. What is your biggest takeaway? I want to hear from you. Your biggest takeaway. Call them back. Yep, answer the phone. We need to answer all our phone calls, okay? Win them back. Phone metrics. Let's pay our staff based on performance rates, right? Answer the phones, train every phone, you spend so much money on the marketing. We spend so much money, like making silly Instagram videos like me, or you spend so much money with like SEO, like these amazing marketing agencies like Chad Madden's group and like Neil with Practice Promotion is like, we have to take accountability as clinical owners to convert them, our sales team, right? Right? So instead of hiring like front desk have medical office experience, maybe let's hire people that have a bit of sales experience, phone experience, right? Let's change up the type of people we hire, The people that if you have a team that has if you have 3-4 front desks, a couple of them are really good with the phones. The other ones are really good at billing. Let the people that are terrible with people bill, right? And then hire salespeople, and pay them and manage them so that you could be answering 95% of the time and booking 80% of the time. Okay. I'm gonna stop this Jeopardy music for for Pam, right? And so once again, everyone, we're gonna do this exercise. I just want let me turn this up. I just want to reiterate, your marketing company, right? Chad's group, Neil, Practice Promotions, they're generating their phone calls, right? Your job is down here, okay? Type pink in the chat if this makes sense. This is all you. This has nothing to do with them. You have to be 100% accountable. That's you, your training, your sales team, your people, the type of people you hire, Okay, all right. We're gonna do this. We're gonna listen to this call, okay? And you tell me, is this a good call or is this a bad call, okay? All right, you guys ready? Let's see.
To ensure the highest level of customer care, this call may be recorded. Speaking.
My name's Kristen. How are you?
I'm good, Kristen. How about you?
I'm all right. I'm calling. I have a weird question for you. I am just kind of calling around. I woke myself up last night at 3:30. I rolled over in bed and I was like, "Oh Lord, the whole room's spinning. I think I just gave myself some vertigo."
Oh no.
And I know, and I've got a major ski trip planned, leaving this Saturday early in the morning. So those two things don't work together very well. It's not very safe. Do you guys have any availability tomorrow to do a quick vertigo treatment?
Let's see. I do have an open spot, and it's the only one left. Are you a new patient with Atlas?
Yeah, I'm new to the area, and I just am calling around to see what to do, just in case if I wake up tomorrow and it's still like this. I'm like, oh gosh, I can't go ski with this.
Oh yeah, I understand. Okay, so what would happen is it would have to be an initial evaluation with one of our doctors. So tomorrow the only one that we have is 7:30 a.m. with Dr.
Shoot, I've got a meeting at 8 p.m. that's in person, or 8 a.m. that's in person.
Yeah, so yeah, because a session would take normally at least an hour, give or take, especially with the first session.
Yeah, okay. I'll keep calling around. Thanks so much for looking.
Sure thing, no worries. Have a great rest of your day.
You too, bye-bye.
All right. So type in the chat, what would you do differently? What would you do differently? Type in the chat. Yeah. I love all that stuff in there, right? Yeah, because if you were to answer, it'd be very different, right? it's kind of like what happens is like when a patient comes to you on like the first assessment, what would you do different? Like, how do you start that report, right? And so like, I think this is important, like number one is when it comes to like, like once again, number one is that like, did we connect with them? Do we know the patient's name? Did the front desk talk about their name? Like, are we able to connect with them? Right? I think that's important. And then the second step, like in my CARES framework, is like, did we show empathy, urgency? Oh my God, like I'm sorry to hear that. Right? I'm sorry to hear like what happened. Tell me more. I'm sorry to hear you're in pain right now. Right? Type sorry. I'm sorry in the chat. Right? Type I'm sorry, like if your grandma called you and they said they're in pain, like what would you say? Like, I'm so sorry that you're in pain right now. Would you not say that? Like to show empathy, right? Right? Oh my God, like how long have you been suffering this for? Blah, 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 right? And then like, did we demonstrate like results and patient stories? Did we show like social proof, right? Oh my God, like we've totally like helped people with vertigo just like you, like yesterday, blah, 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 you know what I mean? Right? And they explain to them how exactly it works and make it so it's so desirable that they actually book with us, right? So you don't have to shop around, and to squeeze them into an appointment, right? Who's noticed that like when you're patient, when you don't have no availability and like that you, when you don't have anything in your schedule, it seems that like everyone wants to get in. Type me in the chat, right? People will arrange their schedule. So why not train your front desk so it's all like that? Every time they call, oh my God, our schedule's so full. Let me squeeze you in here. Like this is my only spot available. Like imagine if we trained our sales like team very different like that. Who likes that tip? Give me a score of 100 if you like that tip. Pretend, people will choose their schedule if you show them enough social proof on why they should do it. And like, if you only have a limited spot, it's like at the grocery store. If there's only like one loaf of bread left, people will buy that loaf of bread. But if you give them like 100 loaves of bread, like different brands, no one's gonna it's not empty. Like that's what we're seeing right now in the grocery store. If that makes sense, type in like bread in the chat. Type bread in the chat, okay? Let me squeeze you in. Our schedule's booked for the next 2 weeks. Like create FOMO, okay? Okay, so everyone, like it's all about the phone scripts, everyone, And let me ask you, like that call that we just listened to, right? How confident would you be like that your teams is doing something similar, right? Give me a score of 100. Like 100 means like they're likely like your clinic will do similar calls like that, I'm going to be honest, majority of your clinics is those type of calls, 100%, but you're not doing anything about it, okay? And I just want to offer you guys like, like if you want us to do a mystery caller at your clinic where we will actually like tell you exactly like and give you a grading system of like how your front desk is doing, plus I'll give you the phone scripts that we've just talked about, everyone, who wants my phone scripts? Like type in like phone scripts in the chat, right? You could use it like right after today. Okay, cool. Yeah, you want it now? Yeah, I'll give it to you now. And so I'm gonna give you the phone scripts and like we're gonna do like a mystery caller audit to actually grade your clinic to see how your front desk is doing. And then from that would be a great team exercise where you could actually do some staff training, okay? Who likes that? Type training in the chat if that's something that you want to do. Okay, cool. And so I'm going to type in this chat, everyone. And so you could sign this up for right away. I'm going to give you the phone scripts as well. It's detail by detail, this mystery caller, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just going to throw that in there. You guys could grab it yourself. Okay. And so, and I think the mystery caller, like our team will do it. It'll take like, a couple of days. You'll get the phone things, and so, and we've done over like 1,800 like of these mystery patient calls, like in America, Australia, and Canada. And I'm telling you, 81% of the time, like the patient doesn't even know the front desk name, right? And like they don't offer 93% of that, they actually don't offer value before like giving out like how much it costs or whether it's covered by insurance, right? And then like 89% of the time, they don't overcome objection. So if someone wants to think about it, what does your like staff say and do, right? And so at the very bottom here, everyone, on my phone scripts, I actually give you all the patient objection. What do you say when they say, I'll take my insurance? What do you say when I think it's too expensive, I don't have time, And so that's all that stuff you're gonna get when you fill out the mystery shopper call. Oh, we got Chad here. So I got 10 more minutes left. So I'm just gonna wrap up, and so hopefully you found the exercise really helpful, everyone. And so I just want to reiterate what we kind of talked about earlier, is that your marketing companies are actually generating phone calls. So the stuff that Chad's doing, the stuff that like practice motion, like they're actually generating the phone calls, right? The traffic, whether it's like Facebook ads or website traffic or Google ads, SEO traffic, social media. Your job is to be able to like have your sales team answer the phones and convert them, okay? So this is your biggest takeaway. If this makes sense, type in sales in the chat, everyone. You have a sales team. When you talk to your other entrepreneur buddies, you have a sales team. You don't treat them like sales, but you have a sales team. Okay. And if your sales team, like, and one thing you take away right away is that, like, if they don't book on the same day, call them back, win them back the next day. And you don't need Call Hero software to help you with that. You could just do it yourself manually, which is fine, So I want to give you that type of value, okay? So here's the 6 phone secrets I'm going to wrap up with that will get you even more new like patients, whether you're a $500,000 clinic, whether you're a $1 million clinic, or you're some of the clinics I work with that are doing like $3 million and you got multiple sites, right? You need this on your side, okay? So number 1 is like, you got to maximize your answer rates, right? Are you answering 95% of the time? And do you know that number every single day? Okay. Like a call center knows their answer rate real time every single day. Okay. Okay. If that makes sense, type in answer rates. You got to maximize your answer rates. Answer rate 85% versus 70% because there's 300 calls that were missing. Even if you do a shitty job with like your front desk with training, at least answer the phones. You still have a higher probability of them doing it, okay? And if you're not fully staffed, there are solutions out there where you can have a virtual receptionist as well, And so that's something that we offer a call here where we're launching this month, is that, like, we could back up your front desk for a virtual receptionist, so they could answer the calls that you don't have, okay? Number 2 is you got to maximize your booking rates, okay? So we talked about that today, So if you want to book 75% of the time, you need to know who are your winners and losers. So if you saw this on your dashboard, okay, like your phone performance dashboard, who is, like, look at this, who is the best like person to, who should be answering the phones most of the time, Type in the chat. Who should be converting? Okay. Kim. Who needs help? Who needs help? Like Julius, right? Julius needs help. Agreed? Okay, Megan gets it. Maybe Julius, like, what would you do in this scenario? Maybe you get Kim to train Julius, right? Right? Maybe Kim could do, maybe Julius should just do billing, right? Maybe Julius is like, either like Melissa, bang on. Maybe Julius should be like let go, or maybe Julius is just better as a back-end support. Like they should do all the insurance claims, do the callbacks, like of like insurance, like right? Maybe Julius should go buy all the clinic supplies. Okay. All right. Okay, everyone gets this. Okay. Number 3 is like, you got to train your team on objections, So what do they say when like they say, hey, is this covered by insurance, Or what do they say when they say like price, and callbacks, What do they say when they say like this is too expensive, or like insurance, okay? Type in objections in the chat if this makes sense, everyone, okay? This is like really important. You guys got to train your sales team on objections, and we talked about this, everyone. Patients that don't book with you, Neil, like Chad, they're generating a lot of patient calls, right? Like, let's not lose like these conversion rates. So let's win back lost patient callers. So these are people that don't leave a voice message, or these people that don't book. Like yesterday that said, like, I'll think about 24 hours. This is the one takeaway you can take away, everyone, you know? Type win backs in the chat, everyone. Type win backs in the chat, okay? Really, really important, you know, right? You know, like, one of the guys in our community, Shafiq, has 21 locations in GTA. He does about 60,000 a month, like just in win backs across all his clinics, you know, right? This is easy money. Just call them back. You know, hey, I noticed you called yesterday, blah, blah, blah. We got to come to the phone scripts. Okay. So that makes sense. Number 5, everyone, is you got to measure your marketing ROI. Okay. And so I know Practice Promotion is a big fan of this, you know, is that if, you know, and if you spend $1,000 on Google ads, right? How many phone calls did you generate from that? How many were opportunities and how many was booked, right? And then from there, you're going to figure out, once again, is that you will have a sales problem. Or maybe some of these campaigns, you have a marketing problem. Then you could like use this to be able to identify like, oh my God, like this is how I'm going to manage my, like, this is where I'm going to put my resources, okay? So if this makes sense, type in like, type tracking, you know, you got to track your ROI, and how you do that with the phone calls. We put tracking numbers so that like if you spend $1,000 on this like print ad, you know, that Neil does, you know, and that stuff like I've seen really good results with, you know, is that like if you generate 50 phone calls, you know, you can easily measure like, oh my God, your cost per acquisition, you know, and then cost per lead, and then out of that, how many actually booked, you know, and then sometimes you're going to realize, oh my God, I'm actually generating the phone calls, but my sales team is not converting them. So that's a track. But from this, it allows you to be able to identify your campaigns, okay? And then lastly is that like, you know, if your clinic is doing a really good job with like their phones that day or that month, reward them and recognize your team. Like especially now, people want to feel appreciated and recognized. Type appreciate in the chat. You got to show appreciation. Appreciation is beyond money, everyone. It could be that if they did a great job, appreciate them by doing high five Fridays, maybe send them a trip to the spa, you know, right? Give them a pedicure, you know, for, oh my God, you guys, we crushed it this week. We got a 95% answer rate. Let's like, we're gonna do spas, you know, we're gonna do a spa day. We're gonna do a pizza party. Okay. And so that is my session today, everyone. And so I want to thank everyone. I got to wrap up. I got 2 minutes. And so once again, everyone, if you want to find me on Instagram, I'm here. You can watch a lot of my, you know, silly videos, you know, it's entertaining. You know, I do funny memes. And so this is one of our favorite memes lately. That's done really well, right? You know, but yeah, so I want to thank everyone for attending our session. And we are, and once again, if you are interested in the Miss Your Caller audit, I'll give you the phone script. Just type that in. And then you type that in the chat, and Chris will generate you that. And plus, give you the phone script, gives you all the objections. You're gonna love that. You know, it's pretty much like everything. It's my CARES framework. You know, and also the patient objections. And you could use this combined with your Miss Your Caller audit to be able to at your next staff meeting, okay?
Thanks again for joining us today. Be sure to check out practicepromotions.net/power. There, listeners can download over 9 checklists and free resources made to coach you through simple, proven marketing actions to increase new patients. So check it out today. That's practicepromotions.net/power, and I'll see you next time.